In this video, we're going to be talking about arithmetic sequences. So let's go and get started. An arithmetic sequence is a sequence that increases and decreases by the same amount. So like for example, let's say if I was to give you a quick little problem where if we started with 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, if you notice and observe, I am adding 2 to every single term to get to the next term. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, so on and so forth. Okay, so since I'm adding the same amount every single time, you can conclude that this is an arithmetic sequence. All right, because remember, it increases or decreases by the same amount. Now, we're going to be talking about creating formulas, or I'm sorry, creating equations with these type of sequences, and this is what we're going to use. Okay, this format right here. It is a t of n equals t of 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Now, please, if you would, as you're writing notes, also take a look at what everything stands for, which is up under here. So feel free to pause the video to get all this down, because we're moving to the next slide. Okay, the common difference is the constant of the arithmetic reoccurrence relation. So what we just talked about over the other one, where we're adding 2 each time, this is just another example. 3, 7, 11, 15, 9, or 19, we're adding 4 every single time, so that means the common difference will be 4. Well, let's just do another one. Let's say if we started with 20, and then we went to 17, and then we went to 14, and then we went to 11, and then we went to, let's see, 8, so on and so forth. And if I asked you what would the common difference be, well, you're subtracting 3 every time, so you would say the common difference was -3. All right, pretty simple. Okay, now let's actually talk about finding the equation of the sequence. All right, here's our sequence right here, 3, 7, 11, 15, and 19. Okay, now this is actually pretty simple given the fact that I'm already giving you the kind of like the formula to go off of. All right, so let me give myself some room to write here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all this information and we're going to plug it into this formula here. And there is going to be some algebra involved, but very minimal. All right, so we're going to say T of n is equal to blank, which represents my first number, plus n minus 1 times blank again. Now, the reason I put in blanks is because those are the only 2 numbers that actually need to be plugged into this formula. Okay, everything else stays the same. So the Tn minus 1 represents the very first number of my sequence, which I'll just do this in different colors so you can see it. The number is 3. Pretty simple. The next blank we need to figure out is what is called this D. And this D represents the common difference. So we are adding 4, so that's going to be positive 4. So pretty much everything is already figured out. The last thing we need to do is we just need to apply some basic algebra problems or algebra skills in order just to simplify this formula. Now, if you notice that this 4 is right next to this parenthesis, which means we're going to have to distribute, which means we're going to take 4 multiplied by n, multiplied by -1. So when we do that, our next step would be T of n is equal to 3 plus 4n minus 4. And let's simplify that again, and we're going to say T of n is equal to 4n minus 1. And there you go. There's your answer. Now, just in case if you want to check your work, this is kind of like a review from the last video. Let's say if we would just wanted to find our first 3 terms based upon this formula here. Now, if you remember, the very first term has an n of 1, and then you have n of 2, and then lastly you have n and 3, so on and so forth. Okay, so if I was to plug in 1 in for this, I would get 3. If I plug in a 2 in for n, I would get 7, and I plug in 3, I would get 11. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what, oh, there it is. Okay, 3, 7, 11, and I'm sure it will build on to 15 and 19. So there you have it. There's your answer. So Tn is equal to 4n minus 1. Okay, let's try another one. Finding the equation of the sequence, -7, -3, 1, 5, 9, and 13. Okay, pretty simple. All right, so remember what we said before, and that is the only numbers that you're actually going to be plugging into this formula here is your very first number, and then lastly, your common difference, which is D. Now, feel free to pause the video and go ahead and work all this out, and then we will come back and check it once you hit play again. So go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, hopefully you paused it and you press play again. So let's go ahead and work this out. So I'm going to say T of n is equal to -7, which is my first number, plus n minus 1 times, in this case, it's going to be -4 for our common difference, which is -4. And the reason I'm putting this in parentheses is just because of the fact that this is a -4 and not -4, like subtraction 4. So it's just kind of more of a reminder to me that I am not subtracting but multiplying. So my next step here would be T of n is equal to -7 minus 4n plus 4. And so when I work the math, it'll be Tn is equal to -4, let's see, -4n, sorry, minus 3. And there's my answer right here. Now in this next video, or I'm sorry, this next slide that we have, what we're going to do is we're going to create a closed form formula for the following. So now we're not given our sequence. What we're given now is our 38th term. Okay, we're given our common difference, and we need to create an equation. Okay, this case is going to be a little more different because of the fact that we're now going to be solving for our very first term. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all this information and we're going to actually plug it into this video, or plug it into this equation. I don't know why I keep on saying video. We're going to take -278. We're going to plug it in here. We're going to take 38, because that's what my n is. We're going to plug it in there. And then I'm going to take -8 and plug it in there. And what we're going to do is we're trying to solve for the first term. So when we do that, like basic algebra, it's going to be -278 is equal to x plus 38, that's a parenthesis, I'm writing with my mouse here, minus 1 times -8. And then I'm going to solve for x by using basic algebra skills. So hopefully you guys know how to do that. And so x is equal to 18. And so once I figure that, now I have to go back to my original default formula, which is Tn is equal to, remember the first term, which is 18, plus n minus 1 times 8. So once I do that, now all I have to do is just simplify everything, and then I'm going to get my final answer, which is this. And so my final answer is this right here. Tn is equal to -8n plus 26. Okay, for my next problem here, I'm dealing with a situation where I have a sequence where I have my very first number, which is n of 1, or n is my first number, and then my, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, n of 4, okay? And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for D. I'm looking for my common difference. Well, it's not given to me, but there's enough information to figure out what I am dealing with. So in order to find D, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the amount of increase over the n increase. Now what I mean by that is the amount of increase was that I started with 3 and I went to 24. So 3 to 24, that is an increase of 21 units. Okay, now how many n's did I increase? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry, n is equaling 5. I'm sure you guys were yelling at the screen about that, so I apologize. So how many n's did I actually increase? Well, I started with n of 1, so that means I went here, n of 2, n of 3, n of 4, and then n of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means I jumped 4 n's. I increased by 4. So when I do the math here, 21 divided by 4, you get a D of 5.25. Okay, so there's my D, And of course, you already know what your first term is, which is right here. So from here, you would find a formula or answer whatever questions you need to answer. So if you have any questions, let me know. This we just talked about was arithmetic sequences. Thank you. Thank you.